I'm outside the presidential office in Taipei, where Taiwan's top leaders have just finished a sweeping cabinet reshuffle.
Taiwan's export orders fall again as the economy continues to feel the pressure. Love wins. Taiwan allows more same-sex couples to tie the knot. Plus, manga and anime fans seize their last chance to visit the Taipei International Comics and Animation Festival. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Taiwan's new premier announced his leadership team in the last few days. Now the country's new ministers have been officially sworn into office. It's likely to be the last cabinet reshuffle before Taiwan's presidential election in 2024. Stash Butler reports.
Think of it as a kind of spring cleaning. Taiwan's government is sweeping out its cabinet of top officials, and now here at the presidential office, it's swearing in a new one. It's an effort to freshen up the country's leadership after the ruling party suffered a crushing defeat at recent local elections. Taiwan's vice president led proceedings on Tuesday. He welcomed back his predecessor, Chen Chien-jen, as the country's new premier, taking over from Su Tseng-chang. Here's the formal ceremony where Su, on the left, formally hands over the premier's seal. Su had to say this after 4 years in office.
我会由衷地感谢这个国家、这块土地、这2300万人给我的栽培机会恩赐。
The new cabinet has several new faces, including new ministers for culture and for finance. There are also more women, 7 this time compared to 4 before. It's still a long way short of parity. Overall, though, most ministers have kept their jobs, and Taiwan's new premier says they're up to the task of leading Taiwan forward.
作为人民的公仆，真正的权利就是服务。 权力越大，责任也越大。就像圣经中所说的，你们中间谁要为首的，就必须做众人的仆人。
But Chen faces serious challenges, turning around a sluggish economy, bringing down sky-high housing prices, and dealing with ever more frequent acts of aggression from China. It's a big task for Taiwan's new premier, and on top of all of that, the ruling Democratic Progressive Party will be looking for Chen to do one more thing. And that's convince voters that the party is ready to lead again before next year's presidential election. Leon Lien and Stash Butler in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
For more on Taiwan's new cabinet, TaiwanPlus reporter Louise Watt spoke to Wen Ti-song, a political scientist at Australian National University who is in Taipei.
What do you think are the most important signals that this cabinet sends out internationally?
I think the single most important signal is probably going to be continuity in the Tsai administration's China policy during the rest of President Tsai's term, and then possibly into Lai Ching-te's term as well, should he become the DPP presidential nominee and then wins in 2024. The reason I say that is because you look at the cabinet reshuffle, the new personnel being appointed this time into the Mainland Affairs Council especially. Over there, you see 2 new deputy ministers for Mainland Affairs Council that run China policy. One of them is the new DPP chairperson, Vice President Lai Ching-te's advisor on China policy, Liang Wenjie. But he may be seen as a Lai Ching-te protege, but at the same time, it's also his bridge to President Tsai's office at the same time as well. Not to mention that there was also a second new deputy minister for Mainland Affairs, someone who used to be President Tsai's chief of staff, like 20 or so years ago back in the Mainland Affairs Council. So again, what you're seeing is President Lai's China advisor being groomed in the China policy under the tutelage of President Tsai's main own China policy advisor and confidant as well. What they're doing now with this new cabinet reshuffle is to say that it's going to be essentially a continuation of President Tsai's China policy. Not going to be surprises, not going to be major turbulence ahead. Please rest assured that Taiwan will remain a dependable and pragmatic friend to all these international partners.
What are the challenges that this new cabinet faces, especially bearing in mind that Taiwan's presidential and general elections are coming up in a year's time?
I think one of the main challenges that's going to be obvious is just how they manage to survive as a transition from a governance cabinet into an election year cabinet. And that's going to mean that they're going to face a lot more variables in terms of pressure coming from Beijing's side, as well as increasing challenges coming from Taiwan's opposition parties, who are obviously trying to present a meaningful policy alternative to them. So President Tsai's cabinet will be facing pressure from all directions while running a heated presidential election campaign.
That was Wen Song, a political scientist at Australian National University, speaking to Louise Watt. Taiwan's export orders in December dropped significantly, continuing a worrying run for a key driver of the country's economy. James Chater reports.
Taiwan's export orders have fallen once again. In December, overseas orders to Taiwanese businesses declined 23.2% on the same month from the year earlier. That's almost equivalent to November's drop of 23.4%, itself the steepest tumble since the global financial crisis in 2009. A pandemic-era boom in demand for Taiwan's semiconductors protected the country from recession, but recently, higher inflation, higher interest rates, and zero-COVID lockdowns in China, Taiwan's largest trading partner, have depressed demand for Taiwanese goods.
We forget, but Taiwan benefited so much in 2020. So, this is a little bit like the pendulum, the pendulum coming back to hunt Taiwan now for something that Taiwan benefited in 2020.
Exports account for around 70% of Taiwan's GDP, making its economy vulnerable to external forces. Taiwan's economy contracted 0.86% in the final quarter of last year. And on Monday, the Taiwan Institute of Economic Research lowered their forecast for Taiwan's 2023 growth to 2.58%.
今年的国际情势，上半年可能表现乐观程度并不高，所以我们的贸易跟我们的投资，尤其是民间企业的投资，受到一定的影响。所以我们主要下修的部分在于贸易的表现。
But some think even that projection is too optimistic, and that the latest data shows Taiwan's exports are excessively concentrated in one destination and one sector.
One is China, the other one is the semiconductor industry. It's quite obvious, yeah? So, I don't think you need to, but the point is, once you agree on this, maybe you need other sources of growth.
Taiwan's economy has hit a rough patch. China is opening up, and that could provide some respite. But with few other sources of optimism, the waters could be choppy for a little while yet. Klein Wang and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's military says it is repositioning some of its missile defense systems to better protect the northern parts of the country. This comes as US officials are highlighting new timelines for a potential Taiwan Strait conflict. Jaime Ocon reports.
This is the Tiankong, or Skybow, missile defense system. It's Taiwan's most advanced domestically made air defense system, and it's tasked with protecting the skies above the country. Recently, the military has been repositioning these systems to protect more of the north, highlighting that the country is always looking to better enhance its defenses.
天宫3型飞弹具有很好的征收的能力，相位阵列雷达可以征收大概400公里左右的空域，可以让我国的防空网就是更为绵密，可以拦截高中低空各种不同目标。
Taiwan has two main air defense systems, the Patriot system from the US and the domestically made Skybow system. These systems are crucial for giving the entirety of Taiwan cover against enemy aircraft and missiles. China, which sits roughly 100 kilometers away from Taiwan at the closest point, has continually threatened the country with military force to bring it under its control. Recently, a U.S. Air Force commander highlighted 2025 as a potential year for a conflict to break out. But Taiwan's defense minister says no matter what timeline, the military must be ready.
对任何一个可能发生的事情啊，我们都要有个预议啊。目前国防部也朝这一方面在着手，好吧？这个我不好妄加 评断啊，有什么可能我们都会纳入考虑，来做一个准备。
As Taiwan continues to step up its security planning, it's also adapting to a changing security environment. The repositioning of the Skybow missile system is one way that the country is seeking to cover all bases. Klein Wong and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has lifted restrictions on same-sex marriages between people from different countries, giving hundreds of couples the right to wed. Although Taiwan legalized same-sex unions in 2019, the right to wed for transnational couples was limited to people from countries where same-sex marriage is legal. Rick Glowert reports.
This is a household registration office in Taiwan's capital, Taipei. Hundreds of people get married here every day. Now, for the first time, they can marry their same-sex partner, even if it is not legal in the country that partner is from. Su Tseng-chang and Xiaoxin have been together for 9 years. As Su Tseng-chang is from Malaysia, where same-sex marriage is not legal, they have been waiting 6 years to wed.
I'm so glad that even though we need to wait for so long time, my partner, my husband, is still willing to wait for me until this date. But actually, I often say I'm sorry to him that I made you cannot be married for such a long time.
Taiwan legalized same-sex unions in 2019, becoming the first country in Asia to do so. But marriages were only recognized if both partners were from countries where same-sex marriage is legal, ruling out the possibility of marriage for hundreds of LGBTQ Taiwanese. Now, only same-sex marriages involving Chinese nationals are not allowed. Despite the advances, transnational couples here say they felt left behind when the rest of Taiwan's LGBTQ community celebrated equal marriage rights. Now, Taiwan has made a historic step towards genuine inclusivity. Alex Chen and Rick Glowert for TaiwanPlus.
The annual Taipei International Comics and Animation Festival has been underway at the city's Nangang Exhibition Centre, drawing crowds of manga and anime fans. Our reporter Yvonne Yang went to take a look.
It's the 11th Taipei International Comics and Animation Festival. As you can see, although today is a work day, fans are seizing their last chance to get special merchandise and meet their favorite idols.
我每天都有来了，刚好今天刚好全部挤满了。
我买了资料夹跟水壶。是什么的资料夹？咒术回战的资料夹。是先看有没有链锯人的周边可以先买，想买娃娃啦。
There are over 500 booths at the festival this year, showcasing the hottest modern comics and animations like Spy Family to classics like Yu-Gi-Oh! And after the COVID border restriction was scrapped, the organizer invited voice actors and comic creators from Japan to hold meet and greets. There were also performances by pop idol groups.
像第一天有一些厂商他们有那个限定版的会场限定版的书，对，就有买到，因为那第一天就卖完了，对。然后比较印象的活动像是一些签名会，像有个八木米老师的，还有一个像 Spy Family 的制作人的活动。
That's a wrap for the Taipei International Comics and Animation Festival. Fans are already looking forward to next year's event. Asnaya Zhou and Yvonne Yang in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, we meet the scientists hunting giants in Taiwan's forests. Stay tuned.
These fine people are installing fireworks, but for a real blast, please download the TaiwanPlus app.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world. Charted by the freest country in Asia.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC.
Public buses to be electric by 2030. A mission that begins with listening.
and telling the stories of Taiwan.
In Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Drawing insight from original thinkers.
And sharing it with the world. TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. The world is dangerously unprepared for future pandemics. That's according to a new report by the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, or IFRC. In the World Disasters Report 2022, the humanitarian organization said the international community had not learned enough from the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID has taken more human lives than any earthquake, drought or hurricane in history. The IFRC called on countries to invest in the readiness of local communities to better protect themselves in the future.
Friends, the next pandemic could be just around the corner. Hopefully it's not, but we don't know. We did not know 3 years ago that it was just next door. And it hit us very, very fast and it spread around the world rapidly, as we know. And if the experience of COVID-19 won't quicken our steps towards preparedness, what will?
2 people have been confirmed dead after an avalanche in Japan on Sunday afternoon. Rescue workers were unable to access the affected area in Nagano Prefecture until Monday. Those killed were US citizens who were caught in the collapse. They were part of a group of 5 foreign skiers. 3 survivors from the group made their way down the mountain by themselves. Avalanche warnings had been in place for the region following days of heavy snow. US President Joe Biden has ruled out giving F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine as the country continues to battle invading Russian forces. Here he is speaking to reporters on Monday.
Mr. President, will the United States provide F-16s to Ukraine?
No.
Biden's refusal comes as the US and its allies face calls to deliver more weaponry to Ukraine. Officials in Kyiv say they want American-made F-16 fighter jets to drive out Russian forces camped in the country's south and east. But US allies like Poland say they won't send fighters without agreement with other NATO members. Last week, the US and Germany agreed to send Abrams and Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. The German tanks are due to be delivered in the spring. One of Asia's largest book fairs has just opened in Taipei. A week of over 300 workshops and events, the exhibition showcases books and publishers from around the world. Sally Jensen went to the opening ceremony to find out more.
I'm here at the opening ceremony of the Taipei International Book Exhibition, where for the next 5 days, the city will be celebrating literature from around the world. Behind me is Polish-Ukrainian electronica folk band Zagadana, who is kicking off the book fair, which claims to be the biggest of its kind in Asia. Let's take a look at what's going on.
国际书展呢是今年开春以来第一个呢这么大型的国际的交流的活动啊，那尤其呢是在这个2年的疫情之后呢，大家都已经很久没有时间可以这样子很自由、很开放的一起来交流所以呢，大家一进现场应该可以感觉到满满的活力
The annual fair provides a platform for exchanges between Taiwanese publishers and their foreign counterparts. This year, there are pavilions from countries around the world, including France, Italy, Korea, Hong Kong, Belgium, and Ukraine, whose Central European neighbour, Poland, is this year's guest of honour.
I'm delighted that Poland is here because a lot of what is happening in Central Europe and Eastern Europe draws a lot of interest on the part of Taiwan and Taiwanese. So this is an excellent occasion for the Taiwanese readers, for all those who are interested in Polish culture, Polish literature, to come here and meet the authors of poetry, literature, science fiction, fantasy.
And we offer here an exhibition of the history about Polish illustrations
for children. These are the classics that Paul's designed in children's illustration.
Taiwan maintains a free publishing environment at a time when journalists, writers, and publishers across Asia are experiencing censorship and harassment. President Tsai Ing-wen and new Culture Minister Su Tseng-chang were among the visitors on opening day, showing their support for the industry.
不过今天比较重要的是，其实我是在1个小时之前才完成这个文化部长的交接啊。那如果以这个出版来讲的话，我应该是刚出印刷厂啊，还是热腾腾的那本书刚刚到通路上。那今天是第一次在通路上跟大家见面啊，所以也要拜托大家，就是说我们要秉持着我们文字阅读出版的精神，请也不要只看到封面就决定好坏。
The book publishing industry as a whole is faced with its own challenges. Brick and mortar stores are closing down around the world as people consume more and more entertainment online. But the exhibition hopes to rebuild people's love for books. A construction site dummy, a goods truck, and scaffolding. These may not be the sort of items you'd associate with a peaceful reading environment, but here they represent how books are one of the building blocks for a healthy society. Meanwhile, the Children's Pavilion invites kids into the ocean to meet flying fish, sperm whales, nautilus, and horseshoe crabs. A single-day ticket for the book fair is around $3, but it's free of charge for students under the age of 18 and foreign nationals who show their passports and residence permits at the entrance. Taiwan's Culture Ministry hopes that this year's event will show off the vibrancy and diversity of the country's publishing culture. And with Taiwan's borders open once more, it's a chance for the local literary scene to put itself firmly back on the map. Kama Xu and Sally Ensign for TaiwanPlus.
Scientists are on the hunt for Taiwan's tallest tree. They have high-tech tools to help them find the candidates. But to be sure which is the tallest, they have to go and measure each one the old-fashioned way. John Van Trieste has this story.
This towering Taiwania tree sits deep in Taiwan's central mountains. Around 30 stories high, scientists suspect it could be the tallest tree on the island. They discovered it during a sweep of the country with 3D laser scanning technology. But laser scanning can't give a precise measurement. That's why last week, this research team trekked through thick forest to the tree's location. With harnesses and tape measures, they climbed all the way to the top. The ascent was difficult as a strong wind blew through the forest. They also had to stop partway up as the tape measures the team brought were only 50 meters long.
他在那边有点要晕船，他有点不太敢上去，因为枝条那时候已经蛮细。然后后来风大概有停10分钟，他就赶快攻上去，然后再垂皮尺下来量。
The result? 84.1 meters. That's in between the Leaning Tower of Pisa's 57 meters and Big Ben's 96. This makes it the tallest known tree in East Asia. But it may not hold that spot for long. The last tallest tree was only discovered in December. And the scientists have found hundreds of other tall trees in the course of their laser scanning. Still, the team says every one of these great trees is something to be treasured. Though 60% of Taiwan remains forested, logging over the past century has seen many giant specimens felled.
其实那边的大树很多，所以我们会有这个灵感，就是觉得每棵树好像在华山论剑。
Taiwan's tree finders share the hundreds of tall trees they found on a publicly available digital map. They hope that by raising awareness, their work will help people discover a newfound respect and admiration for these natural wonders. Eason Pan and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Owning a pet is becoming more and more popular in Taiwan, and that's given a boost to all sorts of pet-related businesses. Yu Jing Huang takes a look at one of the more unusual pet-related enterprises.
Carefully handling a beloved member of the family, taxidermist Jin Mao has been taking in all kinds of household pets to preserve them for those they've left behind.
我们已经做了骨骼的漂白，然后还有去脂的部分，我们有把骨骼留结缔组织，它会保存一个骨骼的完整度，让它不会去散架。
Jin Mao doesn't have a background in biology. She used to work in an office, but took photos of ruins as a hobby. After coming across carcasses of dogs and cats on her trips, Jin Mao decided to learn how to preserve animals. Her partner, Jenny, who runs this studio with her, also stepped into the craft unplanned.
大学的时候是修水产养殖，那有一门课程是鱼类分类，那在里面就会教一些做鱼类标本的教学。对，我是那时候才开始比较常触碰到标本这一块。
This taxidermy studio has received more orders than it can handle, indicating a growing market for their services. And if more people go the way of Jinmao and Jenny, what was once an uncommon memorial could possibly become the norm. Ethan Pan and Eugene Huang for TaiwanPlus.
Conservationists are helping to release endangered Chinese box turtles back into the wild. The turtles are a protected species in Taiwan, but are often smuggled to China for sale as pets or food. Rescued turtles are being returned to their natural mountain forest habitat in eastern Taiwan. Conservationists hope this will help the local turtle population grow. They also plan to check up on the area to see how the turtles are doing and prevent poaching. Thank you for joining TaiwanPlus News tonight. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with wintry images from Fushoshan Farm in Taichung, central Taiwan. I'm Yin Khvat. Take care and see you next time.